Had some technical issues, but it's all good. We're fine. It's fine. Alright, we're gonna make some stuff today. And by some stuff, I mean a sprite and an animation, or two, or three. Yeah, we are currently listening to International Jazz Day. Got some bossa nova, some other stuff. It'll be all good. Hopefully it's not too loud. I can't tell. I try to maintain a certain decibel level here, but whatever. Someone will pipe up if it's too loud. So what are we doing? So right here you're looking at beautiful flames. These might look familiar. So these are on Monday. We did a little bit of dev and we did a little bit of art. So this is a 4-frame animation of flames that we're going to use. And we got it from Super Mario Brothers 3. So we modified it a little bit. From the Bowser Dark World. And it's right here. Now, also, the thing we're going to be doing today, before we attempt to, well, I say attempt to, before we implement this stuff, is we are going to create an animation for our pollinators, which are supposed to be like flowers, like circular flowers is what I have in mind, that spew out pollen in all directions when you hit them. And that pollen is supposed to be the color that changes the blocks around it. So this will actually be a lot of animations because you have to do it in all the different colors. So once we settle kind of on one color, then we'll have the design, and then we'll have to create duplicates for all the different colors. I don't really have an idea right now of what to start this based off of. My current sprite that I have, zoom that way, are these. This is what I have for a current sprite, and it kind of was supposed to be like seaweed or something like that was the idea. It's kind of like Ziggy seaweed in a brick. But from far away, it just is kind of a brick with zigzags in it. So I want to create like a little flower. And why don't we take a stab at just making a flower? We'll just do it like in black and white. And then, or we can do it in these colors if you want. Gray and white scale. And then from there, we'll just figure it out. Well, we might have to look at something for a design. So we'll just draw it right underneath here. And we'll get going with that. So we'll start in just a second. Just get going. Yep. This is hump day. You ever, oh jeez, that's not right. How do I see it right now on YouTube? This is totally not the title that I put. It says Ocarina of Time Randomizer Part 4. That is not right. Oh, jeez. we fix that live. Should be able to fix that, right? Let's try to do this live. Live on Twitch TV. I try to fix this while you can't see it. Let's see here. Live. Edit the title. There you go. Alright, I think that'll work. I don't know how it happened, but see if it worked. I want people coming in here being like, okay, another randomizer. Alright, at least the title's fixed. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's make stuff. Let's make stuff. So we're gonna create a little. You need to be 16 by 16. So let's go ahead and just grab a pencil. Create a little black. Well, let's do blue. Blue. Oh, you can't see the little pop-up. That's so annoying here. I have a little pop-up of like the colors. Stupid. What? Draw. Control Shift A. Draw. There we go. So we're using GIMP. There it is. Jeez. Struggling to start of the day. So this is a 16 wide, right? Yeah, at the bottom. This is 16 wide. Oh. That makes sense. So we're just creating our little border. We could also do it this way. This is probably better. Let's create a square. 16 by... What? That's 16 by 16. Wait. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna wait. Alright. We're gonna add our grid here. We're just gonna add a layer. Call this grid. I do this normally in our sprite sheet, so if we go over to like one of my sprite sheets, oh, this is taken from content. Normally I have a grid to help create sprites, but so in this grid here, we can go to the top. There is a tool. Again, you can't see the drop down, but we're gonna basically render a grid on this whole thing. So we're gonna render a pattern. It'll be a grid. It's going to be a 16 by 16 grid. You can see it starting to appear. And I'm a fan of like using like a cyan color for a grid. Just like that. And we put the grid behind the background so it can be on top. So if we're drawing, we can draw right on top of it. So let's take this square right here. And our drawing area is this. Here. And what we want to do is we're trying to make a flower. This is going to be a pollinator that spits out pollen poof, in a radius. That'll get bigger and bigger. The more combo you have, the higher the combo you have in the game. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off and we're trying to draw a flower. So you know, like, you use a pencil and draw a flower. That's the middle of the flower. And you got 4 leaves. Is it like a 4-leaf clover? We gotta think about what kind of flower we want to make. You know, like, You could draw your flower like this. Make it a sort of windmill design. Right? Like that sort of looks like a flower. You know. Then the middle has like, I think what we're trying to create is more of like a let's find a flower and put it in as a reference. I'm gonna put circular flower. Poppy? Is that what I'm looking for? Poppy. I just put in Poppy as some artist. Flower. Yeah. Something like this. Beautiful. We're just gonna do an image. Look at this guy. This is a great image. Just gonna copy the image. I'm gonna paste it over here. Oh, it's gonna be way too big. Oh, we'll shrink it down. I don't know how big my animation's gonna be for the flower. This is a really small. We'll do a new layer. We'll do reference flower. And then we'll paste it in. Shrink it down. Right click. Transform. No. Image to layer size. Layer to image size. That's not what we want. Let's put the poppy in a different image first. Alright, create a new image. Why is this blue? I don't know. Put our poppy. There it is. Look at that. See, that's the kind of flower we're looking for. It's got these, you know, got these petals that are sort of going around the base. It's bright and colorful. Now for biofuels, that's like the name of the world. I wanted it to be more of like a seaweed sort of thing, but then I was thinking like, no, it should just be very clearly like a flower. Because it's what I wanted. So here you see we have a little center. It's like a little like yellow with a little, like a poppy's perfect. Like the perfect little flower. Pops. Pop. Poppy. So this is what we're going to make. Right here. In this. Look how close it is already. That poppy. They are almost identical right now. Poppy? My flower. Poppy. So let's go ahead and make a poppy in 16 by 16 little area. Let's see. Delete. Oh my gosh. I put it in the wrong area too. It's all good. Alright. So, what's fun about this is we have a great reference point for what a flower looks like. Now, if I want, I could start off with the colors. But we're just going to try to create the general design. So first we're going to start off with a little dot and little shoots off of it. So here's our little dot. Boop, boop. That's the poppy dot right there. You see clearly? And then it's got these little, you know, it's almost like a snowflake. the middle of the flower. So there you see, that is that. But it's got to be a little bit smaller because we don't have that much room. So we're going to go like this. There you go. That little snowflake, that's the little poppy. Now we're going to have like some petals that go a whoosh and a whoosh. So see how it has a little like oval and then like a few concentric petals. These we'll do in a different color just to differentiate them. And this will probably be dependent on the color of the sprite. So let's go ahead to our thing here. And let me grab this color here, this gray. So our goal is to do an oval-like swoosh. So we're gonna... The gray's a little hard to see. Why don't we start off with a colorful one? Like green. Or you know what? The poppy's orange. We'll start off with this one. Get this color. Alright, so we're going to create our swoosh. Swoosh. It's going to go up. I'm not doing that. And around. Like that. Oh yeah. And it's gonna go down here some. Alright, and below it. And then right back in. So there's our first petal. That's our poppy petal, our first poppy petal. Then the next poppy petal is kind of going around the edge of it and around to the side. So it's like to the right and then around the top. So this one we're gonna have to cut off a little bit. We're gonna cut off it right here. Because we gotta give room for the other petal to come out the side here. And come up around the edge. Like this. And then we'll just do a little bit of cleanup here, right? Give it a little bit more of a poppy feel. Look at that. Alright, so that's the outer edge. Goes whoosh. Now this one's a little lower, so we're gonna take this, we're gonna go boop. And we're gonna try to do this with 3 colors, similar to this one right here. So here's our primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So that's what we're going to be using is these 3. So this is our 2 petals for a poppy. And then we have like another petal that's sort of like a whoosha 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 around the bottom. So we're going to have a whoosha whoosha whoosha. Like starting right around here, because like you can't see it. You can see some other ones in the background, but it's kind of like, you know. This is a very interesting bossa nova song. And it's done. So we're gonna take another petal, and this is the bottom, so we can't draw here. This is the bottom of our 16 by 16 sprite. So we're gonna go like that. It's just gonna be flat. So looks a little bit weird because we don't have the ability to do it, but what we can do here is we can just make this a little bit. Just gonna increase it just a little bit here. You're gonna add some ridges here. The flower. So we're adding a little ridge there. And then the highlights. So now we sort of got our poppy flower. We got the main one, and then we have like the outer edge. And we got a little bit of overlapping going on here. Like that. So there's our beautiful flower. You can see it actually sort of looks like a flower. So now we have the additional colors that we can use. And that's going to be key. So we got to use our... How about I keep clicking over there? This is our highlighted color. This is our inner color. So we're going to take this. And we're going to sort of just paint on the inner edges here. We're going to give our flower some highlights. Along the outside. Maybe not like everywhere, right? So there's our flower. Like that. And then we have the yellow. The we're getting rid of this. I keep clicking on it. This is the bulk of the flower. And I think the center of this is like a brighter yellow too. So let's just fill it in. That's almost great. I think what's hard is I see this coming out, and I don't think these spokes are good. I think I just want this. So we're going to do a little bit of this. And now we're just going to shape the flower a little bit here. Because you can see the inner, there's a little bit of that too, and I think just like a little bit around this. Shape it. Maybe even do it like a little darker in there. Crazy. So I mean, this doesn't need to be. And then I think the outside here. Oh, we're getting close. You feel that moment where you feel like close? I feel like we're close. It's gonna be like this, right? don't know, maybe it's just yellow. Oop. They do like having some of this orange around it. This is the hard part. This is where you're thinking like, where are the reflections in the flower? So I think we're getting close here. Something like that. It's pretty good. That looks like a pretty nice little flower. So what would that look like? A different color as well. So what we can do is just take a look. Also, this is part of the flower, which is kind of funny that we didn't. What is this song? It sounds like a Super Mario Sunshine. And then, boom, boom, boom. See, even they laughed at the end of it. Alright, let's take a look at what this would look like as a different color. So we'll put it down here. Say we were going to go to sprite sheet. And we were going to have our green version of it. We could do a color swap, but this won't take too long to just put it in. I think. You know, color swap is probably a better idea. Too bad that I'm doing it this way. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Alright, so I think we got something going on right now and for the base sprite. And then we're gonna have to create an animation. I think. This is where it's gonna get hard. Yeah, nice little yellow, green flower too. Okay. So flower's done. You have a sprite. Now, I'm kind of content with just having a sprite right now. As long as it sort of looks like a flower. And that when you hit it with the ball, poof, pollen comes out. And now we have to decide how the pollen is going to look and decide whether it's just going to be a animation or whether we actually create pollen objects that have their own sprites. So for example, let's copy one of these and put it in the middle. And I'm going to have to make this sheet bigger, but that's okay. So if I just put this over here. Now its initial radius is like this. So 1 by 1. So say we had pollen that was like red colored or something like that. When you hit the pollinator, you want pollen to come out one space. And there'll be like little balls that go like shoo, shoo. And if it was a combo of 2, it's going to color everything within the 2 radius, so you'd want them to come out, you know, this far. Like that's the extent of the radius. However, I think, well, not however, I think it'll be challenging to do it all in code. In that having an object that you're gonna have to manage all these objects moving in a certain direction. It's probably easier, excuse me, to have an animation, and we'll just do a bright color as contrast here. An animation centered on, say this, centered on the middle, and then having, as the animation goes, little movements. So like the first frame would just be one movement, and then frame 2, they'd be out like this, you know, all the way around. And then frame 3, they'd be out farther. And then if you had, already that looks like a cloud. And if you had a bigger pollen explosion, you could just extend the cloud further with further animations of it going out further and further around the flower. So it'd be like a foom, and then a foom, and then a foom, and then theoretically you could have a really big foom. So the animations could get really big, similar to our explosion animation, which we needed to create a second sprite sheet for because it was so big. I think that's gonna be what we're gonna do here, is create a animation. Ugh. Look how decent that looks, just as this is a proof of concept. Magic. So let's think of how I want to do this. Probably just want to give us a lot of room. And think of now, if I was using some programs, like right now I'm just using GIMP, there are plenty of programs that I could use that are actually like sprite sheet creators, which might make this a little bit easier. In fact, because I don't have existing sprites, I probably ought to do that. Yeah. I could use a sprite. Probably the best program to use. So let me boot up a sprite, and we'll try to do it in there. I haven't used a sprite in a long time. I hadn't create animations in a long time. So let me boot up a sprite. And again, our goal is to create something that's not terrible. Something that's decent, that an actual artist could go and be like, all right, I'm going to clean this up. Have some sort of base for it. I'm trying to remember my my password to log into Steam. A-Sprite is a Steam program. Alright, just pause here. 4 seconds. Enjoy the wonderful music. Quasico Games playing upbeat.com. Got some nice chimes here. This is jazz. Do. Okay, where's my steam? We're getting steamy. Nope. No. Nope. Yes. No. Yes. Oh. Yeah. I didn't think it was that password. Oh, jeez. Now I got emailed something. Gotta love 2FA. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Access from a new place. Alright, we're getting there. Do not install Rocket League. Please. Stop. Don't do it. A sprite. There we go. Launch this guy. No. Just launch it. We don't need to update a sprite. Alright. Okay, I'll share a sprite now. I'm gonna be struggling in here because it's been a while, but I did have a lot of experience with this before. All right, let's go ahead and share a sprite. A sprite. I can't spell. There it is. Hey, there it is. Up. Hide that. There you go. We're an A sprite. So this is A sprite. Make it a little bit bigger. Move it to the side a little bit so you can see stuff. So here in A sprite, let's hide this Excel sheet too. Let's have some black. What we have is we have our canvas. This is more than a pixel, so here we have our brush size. We can make it 1. So this is our 16 by 16 area. And we have our colors over here. Here we have layers, just like we would have in GIMP. But the big thing is that we can do frames. So we can always add a frame to this because we're trying to do an animation. So if you add 1 frame over here, you could do whatever, right? And then it goes to the next frame, you could copy it over. And then you could, like, you know, go woo! And then when it plays, it goes like, woo! Incredible! Watch the noob at work. So this is a sprite. Instead of using GIMP, which is not traditionally used for sprite work, I'm using it as sprite sheets instead. So whenever we're done in a sprite, we can bring it over here to our sprite sheet, and we can, you know, put it in here. However, what we're going to do is we're just trying to make something not terrible, which is ambitious. This is probably going to be terrible. Now, when we start, we're actually going to be starting out with a 16 by 16. We're starting with an animation that is 48 by 48 because it's going to be shooting out pollen in a 48 by 48 centered on the middle. So let's go ahead and see if I remember all these commands. Generally, stuff's pretty consistent across programs, so let's go ahead and change our dimensions of this guy, which I think is in layer properties. No. Oh, you can actually see the menus here. That's nice. You can't see that in GIMP. Jeez. Properties. 16 by 6. Nope. We're gonna learn ourselves. There's our canvas size. Let's do 48 by 48. Cool. Okay. So let's go ahead and decide what color we're gonna start with. We'll just start with a red, just like we did in GIMP. So here in GIMP, why don't we go ahead and grab the same color here. So we'll just grab the HTML notation, and then we'll pop it in here and say we want this color. So now we're drawing in that color. How do I... I'm now using GIMP controls instead of these controls. How do I get rid of this? I was trying to do Control-Shift-A, which is what you do, and... Whoa! Whoa! Ooh! Okay. So, essentially, the flower is going to be here in this center part. So we can kind of decide, are we actually going to have pollen start in the middle and go out, or should it just start in the edges? If we want, we can always add an additional frame of stuff in the middle. So why don't we just start in the edges? I was thinking of pollen as little, little pellets. But I think it could just be a combination of the two. It could be pellets mixed with just kind of like edges of an explosion almost. So why don't we just start with 1, and we'll just create little pellets. We're not going to think about it too much. This is very different than drawing in... Oh, wow. Oh, we're learning. Wait, why does it feel... Like when I draw like this, like see how I'm going over? It's even drawing differently than in... See how it's not actually drawing there? It's drawing at the diagonal. So if I go up, it's assuming I wanted to do a diagonal easier. Look how easy it is to do diagonals. It's assuming that's what I wanted. And GIMP, not so much. So it's like doing some magic already. It's kind of wild. Huh. This is actually going to make it a little bit harder to just like do some sketch stuff. Huh. Maybe we really don't care about the quality of this. I think this is gonna be harder. We'll just do a little I don't think I'm gonna attempt to do dots. We're gonna make it super simple, which it's fine. So then we have this, and this is going to spread out. Don't do any there. I used to know the shortcuts for these things too. There you go. You can choose the animation speed. Bam, bam. All right, so a little explosion. If you wanted, you could add a frame like this. You can move it, you know. You can always move frames. You can go on and say, hey, maybe we did want one a little bit closer. You could just do like one of these. Or you could do this, like delete all first. And say, you know what, let's do a little one at the middle. There should be a button for erase E. There's always in wonder of watching my artists, contractors, and project creators working on this stuff together, because they would just be like a fiend at it. So now, boop, boom, bam. Cool. Even here to here is a little bit big. Oh, let me pick another one. So we want one in between this and this. So one's sort of like around the edge of the square. Okay. Something like this. It's bad. Didn't say it was gonna be good. Bam, 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 bam. That's pretty good. Okay, we don't care about the speed of it so much. So now we have a general explosion that is a 48 by 48. How do you then put this, say, in a program like GIMP? Like, how do you export the sprite sheet? So we'll go back to GIMP. We'll zoom out. And today we're probably not going to get to putting this in the game. In fact, we're definitely not, but that's okay. But I do want to show just like how putting it into a sprite sheet might work. We'll just expand this canvas here at the top. So we're going to do image, canvas size. We'll make it bigger now. We'll just make it something like 500 by 500. Just keep our square size going. And we'll just do layer to image size over here. All these. And the grid itself, we'll just expand, redo the grid, just so we can see it. So I'll redo this grid here. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it kind of being created. Where is it? There it is. Two, three. Boom. Okay, so now we have our grid here. Right, it covers the whole area. This is just our example explosion. Go ahead and delete that. And Now, say we're going to go back to a sprite. I'm going to create a folder where I can save this stuff. I'm just going to create a temp folder really quick here. And we can go to, I believe it's File, Export, and then you just do Export Sprite Sheet. We're doing it by rows. We kind of want it in rows. No constraints. And when we're done, we'll say Open Sprite Sheet. We'll click Export. And what we have here is we have our sprite sheet. I'm going to move this over so you can see the whole thing. So here are our frames. There's 5 of them. You can see, bop, 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 bop. So there's a couple different ways you could save this as a file, and then you could open the file in another program. Another easy thing is, because we want to know what the top left corner of this is, we could just go ahead and use this as an anchor, just like over here. We say, oh, that's the top left part of the sheet. And it's as easy as just selecting the whole thing. So we could just select the whole caboodle like that. Copy. And over here in GIMP, you could just paste. And we could just move it somewhere. So say we were going to put it somewhere and say, hey, this was our first explosion one. We know it's 5 frames. It's 40 by 40, 48 by 48. You can put it right there. And now we have our explosion. Frame 1, frame 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's our little pollen explosion. So that's how we could create it. It's not that hard to do it. Now, if say we wanted to add frames, so the pollen explosion is probably going to look very similar if it was going to go one deeper. So 1 frame wider and then wider still. And here, we could still have this if we need it as a reference. But back here, all we would need to do is add some more frames. We would also want to increase the canvas size, but the frames will stay centered. So if I go back to here, we can just say, hey, let's go ahead and change the canvas size again. Let me go ahead and hide GIMP. And we're going to go sprite canvas size. And say, just for kidding, we want a 64 by 64. And now here's our 64 by 64. And it's centered on that instead. And I think this is actually not going to be a 64 by 64. We want it to be each time it's going to be increasing by 64 width and 64 height. So instead of 64 by 64, it's going to be an 80 by 80. So let's change that again. Go to canvas size and make this an 80 by 80. So now we can see bop, 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 bop. And there you go. So if we wanted to just expand upon this, we just need to add more frames. So each explosion of pollen is just going to be more frames. It might even be a faster speed because these are going to be different animations. So we'll have different animations for combo 1, which is just the original here. And 2, 3, 4, and all the way up to 10, which is just gigantic of color. It's going to be pretty wild. But I think the animation speed can make it so fast that at least having this basis too will be nice when we hand it over to someone to make it a little sleeker or shinier. So why don't we go ahead and just continue what we're doing for another frame. And before I continue, I'm going to think just a little bit, do a little Jimmy Neutron think. Make sure there's nothing we're missing before we just basically create all these iterations. Which at this point is sort of like monkey work, because we're not really doing art at this point. We're kind of just doing an algorithm of making rings. I think this is fine. Yeah. Let's do it. It's fine. So I think the thing that we want to be somewhat consistent about is we started out with a 5. I think if they were thicker lines, I would just have it be 1. It might just be easier just to do 1 frame and try to bisect it. Despite the first one being 1, 2. Yeah. Also, I think I lost connection, which is pretty interesting considering I just started yesterday. Instead of using Wi-Fi, I got power, like I'm using LAN with power adapters, thinking that it would be more consistent, and I think it is proven to be more consistent. But I totally got a disconnect for a long enough period of time, which basically will shut down the YouTube video. So, that's too bad. Yeah, I think the YouTube video is screwed now. It stopped there. After an hour, which is wild that I got a disconnect using LAN. How's that possible? That means my connection was less consistent. I don't know. We'll see if we get some patterns. But I think I'm gonna have to restart the stream for the next half hour, or I could just call it there. Just say, whatever, that's it for today. It looks like it's still going. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. But let's go ahead and create some more frames, and then we'll keep going. So we're gonna take this. We do not want it to be this big. Whoa! Then again, I am doing 1 pixel, just sort of somewhat arbitrarily. Maybe it would have been better to do 2. Like, is 1 pixel even going to be visible? I don't know. Sort here. Then we're gonna try to bisect it. just drawn. Done. I think one of the things you need is making sure, well, I don't know. I think that's fine. And you just do an export. Boom. There's that one. You can go back here. And we'll do this quick. We're going to sprite. We're going to increase this by 32. Add a frame. I don't know. This looks like it's going to need at least 2 more. So you can be like... Beautiful. That's not good. Undo. Redo. And this bossa nova track is, it's something. Look at that explosion. I mean... Fantastic. Export this sprite sheet. Bam! Look at those later. We're back here. That one was rough. That song was rough. Then we're going to increase the canvas size again. Sprite. By 32 more, which makes this 144. Wow. Wow. Bada bing. Then we're going to take this, and then we're just going to go... Oh, that bottom part wasn't great. Redo the full. There you go. Yeah. Fantastic. File. Export sprite sheet. Can barely see it. I mean, you might be able to see it in game. Maybe. It's probably better if it was like... Well, I don't want it too thick. Maybe if it was like a layered... I don't know. I'm not the artist. Let's make it bigger again. By 32, which is 176. Bop, bop. Go zoop. Now, in the game, you can get a combo level of 10. Which... Is this gonna have the same problem as the, Oop, wow, let's try to do that. As the explosion, It's more of like an amalgamous blob. That makes sense, you know, pollen's sort of blobbing out. It's bloobing and it's blobbing. How many is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and get it to 10. We're gonna need like our own sprite sheet for this too. At least. Yeah, why didn't I think of that? All for an animation. This is why, if I'm doing it in an animation, instead of dynamically using particles as an effect, this is the technical debt of that. We have gigantic sprite sheets for these sprites that are centered on a point to show what's happening in-game, rather than, say, using individual small, like circles or something like that to show that they're particles, and spraying them off and moving them at a certain speed. So instead of having the technical debt or time be in the code, to have to basically show particles being generated and removed at certain widths based off of a certain point, and basically coding all that out, I'm creating gigantic sprite sheets for the effect instead. It's a give or take. Generally, you know, now that I'm saying it, if I was going to have an artist come in and redo this, it would be way easier to, you know, do a couple pollen particles than gigantic sprites. But this is easy. It's monkey work. The music has stopped. Peekaboo. Alright. We need some music to help me think. To make a decision. Chill and learn. Sure, chill and learn. Why not? Oh, do we stop what we're doing? Alright, we have a proof of concept. This would work. We know that is true. Right? We know we could do it this way. You could create sprites centered on a location, just like explosions. I can pull up even the sprite sheet to show the sprite sheet that's doing it, which is, let's see here, combo explode, yeah. So for example, here's our combo explode sprite sheet. This is a sprite sheet simply devoted to bigger combos. So we have this one right here, this one. It's a 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This sprite sheet itself is real big in order to encompass all this. In fact, its canvas size this is a 10,100 by 2,200 pixel sprite sheet in order to handle how big these explosions are in a way where as it's moving along, it's doing this explosion effect centered on a 16 by 16 location, which is the platform that's exploding. I was going to do the same thing for the pollen and saying, hey, instead of having an explosion effect, like a cross effect, like a Bomberman effect, it's doing a circular effect. And just basically have the same exact dimensions for another sprite sheet and all that. The difference being replicating this in code and having a kind of T crosshair effect, I determined was much more challenging than simply having bigger sprite sheet. So this was in a past stream or two we did this. I think it took at least 2 streams. Whereas right now, what we're showing is basically we have individual particles, right? Which just happen to be stuff that look like this. And it is spraying out. It might be more interesting even from a coding perspective to show on stream how to create an object that does have a very simple sprite and move it in a radial manner from a midpoint and just remove the object after it went a certain distance. So say we were looking at this would be frame 2, but instead of thinking of it as frames in this case, we wouldn't need to think of it as frames, we'd think of it as distance. So if we had a 48 by 48, we would have, say, you know, a little object here. Let's go here. You'd have, you know, your little sphere, and you'd be moving the sphere out radially. You could also determine how many are generated around the location, like around the circle. And then you could choose the speed at which they moved outward. You could even, if you want to, do like a little spiral pattern. So you could kind of do it dynamically. So instead of just moving it out like this, maybe you did it at like a sine curve or an exponential curve. So it kind of went out like this, you know, from the center. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We'll try to tackle that next time. Because I think we're gonna abandon this idea. We went into a sprite. We showed that we could do it, right? Whoa! Look at our cool. Wait. We're gonna hide this. Look at our sick explosion, bro. So cool. So you definitely could do it this way. But I think it's going to be much more time consuming to do it this way and far less interesting. So more time consuming, less interesting. And if I was going to create like a temporary art for just like a pollen, like we'll have to create a little pollen dot that literally might just be like a square dot or something like that, or a circular dot. If we wanted to create something more complex, it's much easier for an artist to take a dot and say, I need to make a dot better than to take these gigantic sprite sheets and change them. And to be honest, I don't think we really need to do much more than a dot. Even if it was like a tiny dot that was animating from like this to, you know, this or something like that. Like if that was the animation from square to this and back as pollen, that is a really simple thing we can do. And you probably wouldn't even notice it if it was moving too fast, because the actual pollen animation we want to be really fast because it's instantaneously changing the blocks around it. Like when you're playing, it's going to instantly change the stuff around it. So the motion of the stuff needs to be very fast as it's going. So we're going to do that next time. Is we're going to start, we're probably going to finish our flowers, which probably will be static sprites. You know, they could be like shimmering a little bit, but I'm not going to attempt to do that. But it'll be as simple as taking these flowers and making them the different colors we have. We have our 7 different colors, kind of the one that's not colored yet, and then each of the 6 colors. Then we will create a very simple animation, probably just a 2-frame animation of a piece of pollen. Do that in all the different colors. And then the main work will be in the coding to actually create these particles and remove these particles as you hit the flower. So that's the plan. Which, and then, you know, while we're at it, we can put in this little fire animation too for our fire pits. But I'm going to call it there for today. Thanks for tuned in today, and largely for those who will be checking this out later. See a little bit of insight of problem solving and some art and some silliness. But, tomorrow I'll be back doing and finishing, surely finishing the Ocarina of Time randomizer that I started. It'll be session 5. So right now I'm 12 hours in, and my goal is to finish within 15 hours. And then after that, decide what we're going to do for the next rando. Because I want to continue doing randos. I'll probably take maybe the following session will be learning more glitches and tricks and stuff. Because I definitely want to incorporate some of that. And I'm probably going to try to do some of that next session too tomorrow. So call it there. As always, love you guys.